Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast. I believe we are at episode 15, and we are rolling right along here. We've had, in the last few weeks, we've transitioned over to start talking about late models as we get closer to the Dirt Million coming up here in Mansfield, at Mansfield Motor Speedway on August 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And today, Jacob, I didn't even let you introduce yourself.
That's all right. My name is Jacob.
Jacob is on the line with me. So my name is Clint, and as always, Jacob is with us here. And I just was so excited to jump right into this interview today. We're going to get the chance to talk to Mr. Cody Sommer, who might be one of the busiest guys in dirt racing right now.
Cody kind of has his hands in a little bit of everything. Obviously, he's a promoter and president at Mansfield Motor Speedway. They have the big Dirt Million coming up, and he does a lot of stuff there between the Dirt Million and Sprint Car World Championship, and they do a lot there. And then we have he does Gateway Dirt over in St. Louis in December, where they have the late models and modifieds and midgets race in the Dome over there, and that's coming up here in December or January, sometime in the off season. And then he does the promotional group DRA Racing. They're promoting at least one race that I know of, the Kokomo Lucas Oil late model race. And then I believe they just got Dirt Draft up and going too.
Yeah, so after Gateway, Mansfield Motor Speedway, all that stuff set up, when you thought he couldn't take on anymore, he also joined Scott Bloomquist Racing in late spring. And then right after that, they rolled out the Dirt Draft, which the app is up and the game is running. I've actually joined and played for a couple of weeks now.
Okay, how's that working out?
It's been pretty cool. I have played fantasy football for years now, and I couldn't think of, being a football fan and being a huge fan of dirt track racing. Now I have basically a fantasy dirt track game, which is incredibly addictive and distracting from everything else I have in my life. Yeah, it's been very cool. It's working pretty well. I think this is the third weekend coming up that there will be scoring on Dirt Draft. But I think tomorrow, we're recording on Wednesday. When the episode comes out on the 1st is when the rewards portal in Dirt Draft is posted, and we'll be able to find out on what we can use all those points we're scoring on. So anyway, let's let Cody talk about that. And we will slide into the interview here in just a second. I want to make sure that you guys know we do have the hats in. If you didn't see the pictures on Facebook and Twitter, we have both a red version and a white version. And let us know. Send me a message, $20, and we'll get them to you wherever you are. I am very happy with them. I think the product looks great. So let me know if you want a hat, and make sure that you're sharing us on Twitter and Facebook. Tell your friends about us so that we can reach as many people as possible. As always, we're coming to you from the home of the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast in the St. Pete District Studios, downtown Mansfield. St. Pete District Studios is a full-service recording studio that can meet any of your recording needs. Rob will get you in and get you taken care of. Rock and roll, gospel, jazz, opera, heavy metal, you name it, they'll record it. Even commercial or podcast needs. Rob has clearly made major improvements to the sound of the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast, and we want to share that with you as well. So for booking, email Rob at robinrecorder@gmail.com or find them on Facebook at St. Pete District Studios. Having all of that taken care of, let's get right into our conversation with Cody Sommer. All right, we're here on the phone with Cody Sommer, promoter from Mansfield Motor Speedway, promoter of the Gateway Dirt Nationals, DRA, and lots of other things. Cody Sommer, you're a pretty busy man. What all you got going on right now?
Well, first off, appreciate you having me on. I always have something going on, I guess. It seems lately I've been putting a lot of time into several different things. So thankfully I have a great team of other people around me, like Jacob as well, that really spearheads a lot of projects that I start and create for everybody. But right now I've been spending a lot of time with the Scott Bloomquist thing. and the team that I've become a partner in, just because it's just like any other promotion, an event, or a business. In its infancy, it requires your attention. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Scott stuff right now. And same thing with some of the other projects that I have in the infancy stages. They kind of take more of the time, the dirt drafts, and really Dirt Million's still a new concept. So we're putting a lot of time and effort into that as well. Honestly, things like the dome, they're a little bit easier for us now because we're working on year 4 of that. So we kind of, here in about 2 months, it'll become the forefront of our workload. But right now, it's just kind of a little bit of our workload. So all in all, there's always something going on and always busy. That's the world and life that we live, definitely on my side of the fence.
So you mentioned quite a few things right there, and I in one paragraph, and I imagine that's what your hours are like throughout the day. You've got your participation with Scott Bloomquist Racing. You got the dirt draft is out there, Dirt Million's coming up, and I'm sure you're juggling constantly. Let's go backwards a little bit and talk a little bit how you got into racing. I imagine you started. You were driving to begin with, and then I know a little bit about the story, but I want to share with the listeners how you got into the promoter thing, and if you could give us just a little bit of history and how it all started out for you.
Sure. My story is definitely unique and a lot different than I think a lot of people assumed. And here lately, I think a lot of people are starting to recognize and realize that I'm very much like the rest of us racing people. I'm kind of come from blue collar roots as well, and but a lot of people have this assumption about me that I'm this corporate, white collar guy, and it's really a very wrong assumption about me and my past and how I got started in it all. So. I grew up in Central Illinois, small town America, call it, and really didn't really expect the path of life to take me where it did, but I was involved in racing go-karts, the whole deal, just like a lot of people in racing. I kind of grew up around it. My father did it. My grandfather did it. Raced at my local dirt tracks in the Midwest. Michael South Speedway was like my home track, and Bureau County Speedway, and Moline and Davenport, and that was all around where I grew up. Well, we just kind of got to a point where I was getting good enough, and we were racing enough that it was costing basically my father way too much money, and he wasn't going to be able to keep doing it, but I had a passion and love for racing, obviously being raised around it. And I kind of made the decision. There was some people that I got connected with in the NASCAR world, and that's what really transformed everything into a different direction, because I decided that, I was going to move to Charlotte, North Carolina, and pursue my dream of working in racing full time, whether it be with a helmet on or without a helmet on. It didn't really matter to me. And that was probably about 12 years ago now. I moved to Charlotte and then worked in NASCAR for several years, doing a lot of different things for several different teams. And it wasn't until I met a sponsor for one of those teams that my corporate world experience really, escalated very quickly. I met an interview during business, and they just kind of fell in love with me and my work ethic and my mentality, and they basically begged and preached me to come work for them, and I decided to make the jump. And the NASCAR world was kind of shaky at the time. People were getting laid off, and it was just, again, a very transforming time in NASCAR. And if you were in the industry, you really weren't sure of its future at the time. You were just kind of uncertain. So went to work in the beverage business and still was able to work in racing a little bit, because of it. And that was kind of what I liked about it, that I was still going to be able to do that. But found out real quickly in the beverage business that I had a new passion, not near as heavy of a passion as racing, but I did quickly, rise, I guess, in the ranks in the beverage industry with the energy drink business, and found success. But then it was only a couple of years later I had my own concept in the alcohol industry that I just truly believed in, and I was able to find some great partners and investors, and really catapulted a new beer business back in 2011 and launched it and grew that very quickly. In a matter of just really 3 years, we had it coast to coast, and our products were in Walmart and Circle K and 7-Eleven and everything else. And it really changed everything for me. That business did. It taught me a lot. I got a lot of corporate America experience, I guess you'd call it, through that venture and through that, again, business that I created and started. But I always had racing. I always was in racing just a little bit throughout that time, but it became hard as I was growing that business. When you're on an airplane every week and you're in a different meeting every day, it becomes hard for you to really pursue your, I guess, more of your hobby passions and things like that. And that's really the racing was at that time, because I just had bigger fish to fry at that time. So, basically a few years back, I was able to put myself in a position where I could focus more full time on racing, because it's what I wanted to do. And, I was kind of right around that year one dome time. And then just a lot's happened over the last few years, got obviously Mansfield, got some other events that I've done, got some other different things, all pretty much racing related, that I've gotten involved with, and have just been thankful that I've been able to focus more on a full-time basis in motorsports, really. And that's what it's all about. So that's my, I guess, my quick version of my history and story. Sorry it took so long.
No, it's a winding road, man, and it's all happened really fast, and it's still happening fast. Jacob, do you have a question? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so Cody, how did your idea for Mansfield Motor Speedway kind of play out?
I'm a big event guy. I'm a big thinker guy, and I was actually. We were actually having a discussion about having what has become the Dirt Million. At the time, it wasn't really intended to be the Dirt Million as much of this massive late model race, and was really, really looking for a venue to take it. So I was planning on, just like I've done with all my other events prior to Mansfield, I was looking at just renting a venue, doing this event, and that was, again, how I was planning on doing it. Well, I wanted it to be in the Midwest area, or in that, call it Great Lakes region, somewhere in that Indiana, Ohio, maybe Illinois area. And just got to looking at venues, and nothing seemed to just pop out at me. And I'm not sure exactly how I came across Mansfield Motor Speedway sitting basically somewhat dormant at the time. There was some asphalt racing happening, but it wasn't much. I'm sure you guys know. And I just kind of was like, man, I wondered if they would let me come put dirt on that place and run a weekend event, because the place, I could tell, was beautiful. I could tell that it's had big events there, and I could tell that, people in that region would likely support it. And so that's where it all kind of started, and then it escalated from there. Once you get people on the phone, the right people on the phone, next thing you know, you're finding out that, the current promotional group is basically about to tap out. And the property owner in Grant Mill Iron